The internet holds a lot of characters and many interesting stories. It lets us express our opinions and share how we feel about things. For example, this teacher who is yelling in the car talking about how they hate their students. Or this therapist who is complaining about their patients for oversharing.
That's life. Everything sucks. And then you die.
We even have this guy right here who can't stop stalking his ex and he's making a YouTube video about it. Wait, oh. They're all the same person. Shit.
Hi everybody, this is Life Coach Dan Hentschel and welcome.
Daniel Hentschel is a creator that blew up on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter of all things. But the weird thing is about all of that is he doesn't have a personality. Now, okay, that sounds weird. Let me explain. In every single one of Dan's Twitter posts or YouTube videos, he acts as a different person. In one video, he's a priest expelling all of our sins.
I absolve you of your sins. You have been forgiven.
And in the next video, he's a creepy teacher, and I actually don't want to get into that video because that is very disturbing.
Every teacher has that one student, the one who gives you butterflies when you see their name on a paper.
In every single one of Dan's characters, they have like a screw loose, like they're going through something. I mean, look at this guy, he's in agony. But in all honesty, I don't think this is just some entertainment facade. I think there's a deeper story here, and that's what I want to get into. But first, in order to do that, I need to dive into Daniel Hentschel's internet history.
Hey everybody, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience being cuffed. They're coming for me. I'm so scared.
I genuinely believe that this guy is one of the funniest tweeters of all time.
Hi everyone, I get turned on when my patients cry.
This whole thing has been worrisome and dangerous.
So we're gonna bring this all back to 2018 when Ninja was the top streamer on Twitch, and the coronavirus, all of that shit never happened. Coincidentally, this is the very first year we see our protagonist, or antagonist, Daniel Hentschel, make an Instagram post. The caption reads, "Much to think about" by Billy Ray Cyrus, and that is a quote connected to a meme that originated on Twitter. Now, I don't really know if there's like a deep meaning behind the meme, but I do know the one thing that this confirms. Daniel Hentschel had a Twitter presence before this. He was on Twitter before this Instagram post. But regardless, let's dive a little bit deeper into his Instagram page. Around this time, Dan was mainly just posting urban photography photos of streetlights and, well, streets. Occasionally, he would throw in that cool power pose of him looking cool. So around this time, the bulk of his posts were urban photography photos or portraits of himself. For example, this one right here, which is a little odd. The caption reads, "Me with my angel and my devil. Love these two." Now I'm gonna dig a little too deep into this photo. This photo might be alluding to the fact that Dan has multiple personalities. He might have a good side, he might have the regular Dan side, and he might have the devil side. But regardless, it is actually very weird to scroll through Daniel's old posts because it went from very normal, like portraits of himself, urban settings, and it just slowly got weirder and weirder. If you scroll a little bit more, you'll have Daniel posed next to a blow-up sex doll. Then you scroll a little bit more and then you see supposedly Daniel's feet pointing upwards towards a floating fork with the caption reading, "Found it." A bit later, we start running into Daniel Hentschel's dark side, and this is around the time of 2020. Daniel Hentschel posted a photo of a family playing in a lake with the caption, "Watching this family from the bushes." Now, like I said, 2020 is around the time when he started to go off the rails, and here we actually run into the very first post that leads us off Instagram. This video of Daniel Hentschel playing with his pet rock. But the thing I want to focus in on about this video is the caption. It says here, "Follow me on TikTok at the damn boy." But when you look up that username on TikTok, nothing pops up. But that kind of makes sense considering the fact it's probably just an old username. So when I looked up Daniel Hentschel on TikTok, lots of videos popped up. Now, something I want to preference. Weirdly enough, no profiles of Dan popped up right away. It was mainly just stitches of other content creators reacting to his posts, like this one here.
Read receipts on, they will intentionally not open your message until they feel like responding. So
I don't think you guys understand. Some people are professionals at reading unread messages. Does that make sense?
I do find it a little bit funny because many of the creators that were reacting to his posts, I don't think they actually realized that it's a bit. I don't think they realized that that's not Dan's real personality. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is Dan's authentic personality. But when you click on the original creator on these stitched posts, it leads you to what looks like to be Daniel Hentschel's old TikTok page with 1 million followers and 100 million likes. How? That is more than my country's population. That is insanity. I need to make these videos. But I said old profile. It looks like Daniel Hentschel's TikTok account got suspended. And I guess I wouldn't really blame TikTok for suspending Daniel Hentschel because
Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience in the military. Specifically the part that everybody asks me about all the time. It's probably the #1 question I get. Have I ended someone's life? The answer is yes.
it's a little edgy. Now we're gonna go back to Instagram because there's not a lot of history of Daniel Hentschel on TikTok. It's mainly just the remnants of what used to be Daniel Hentschel. Now I want to go ahead and look for the very first post of Daniel, well, doing what he's mainly known for.
Hi guys. So earlier this year, I pretty publicly lost my job as a teacher. Beach ball, Mondo Gazungas that are loaded. Hey everybody, so recently we hired a 22-year-old girl at work. She's very hot. She is hotter than my wife. I am more attracted to her than my wife. I hired her partially because she is hot.
The very first video I could find of Dan sharing his thoughts inside of a car was from November 28th, 2021.
Here's a little message to everybody who loves Christmas and Santa Claus. And don't worry, you can show this to your children because I'm not gonna curse. Santa isn't real. The only fat fuck you can expect to hear from on Christmas Eve is your boss telling you to come work.
This likely isn't the very first video that he's made in this format, but it's the earliest one that I could find. Around this time in 2021 was when Dan really started to dive deep into this form of content.
Just got my booster. No, I'm just joking. I definitely recommend everybody get vaccinated. It's 100% totally safe. Nothing to worry about at all. I did have a friend who got the vaccine and died, but I don't think that had anything to do with the vaccine itself. I hit him in the head with a shovel.
But of course, Dan didn't really go viral on Instagram. He actually went viral on TikTok and, of all things, Twitter.
I was avoiding folding laundry, as I usually do, when I came across this banger of a tweet from Dan.
At the beach, where the hoes at. Cocky want boing boing.
I'm sure some of you guys have seen this post as well, because that smile is unforgettable. A few days later, I came across a follow-up tweet from him, which had gotten even more popular than the previous tweet.
I'm glad you guys liked Cocky want boing boing cause it got me fired.
Now, the bulk of Dan's content at this time was pretty much trying to be a relationship specialist, but mainly what they would do is give you very, very toxic manipulation tactics.
Here's how I get my partner to do all the housework. Every time I come home, I carry a grocery bag with me. The bag itself is just filled with rocks. Whenever I leave, I carry the rocks back out in a garbage bag. I know what you're thinking. Don't they ask what's in the bag? No, because I always say something emotionally charged to distract them. Today was the worst day of my entire life. I'm gonna go cheat on you. This way, they only register the bag subconsciously. Over time, they begin to subconsciously perceive me as helpful. This perception makes them feel guilty about how much they help, and they do all the actual work.
Now, of course, this is very toxic and manipulative behavior, which I will say, Dan is a good actor. We can get that out of the way. Dan Hentschel is a good actor. Now, the risk with Dan being a actually good actor and giving this terrible advice is that there's a very high risk of vulnerable people going out into the real world and, well, using this advice and harming other relationships. I don't know if this has ever actually happened, but the truth of the matter is Dan has 100 million likes on TikTok. I assume at least a percentage of his audience took it to heart and actually did it. So that side of this entire story really sucks. But back to the lore side of things, unfortunately due to his TikTok being suspended, that leaves a massive gap into what potentially could have been lore. We could have missed out on a lot of information about Dan's storylines, the characters he built along the way. So at this point, the only places we can find Dan Hentschel content is one on Twitter, on Instagram, or on YouTube. October 5th. 2022. A therapist by the name of Daniel Hentschel posted a video to YouTube debunking what he believes to be major depression myths, which I'm going to be transparent with you, it's just all bad advice.
Now let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this episode, which is debunking common depression myths. The first myth is you should exercise. Now, I have exercised a bunch of times and I have not exercised even more times. And what I can tell you about exercise is that in order to like it, you have to enjoy not liking it. And people are like, no, that's why it's so good. It's refreshing, it's reinvigorating. Well, that's really nice and all, but we actually do have a name for that in the field of psychology. It's called masochism.
But after that video, he breaks from character and uploads this video right here, a compilation of Daniel Hentschel's banned TikToks. And many of these banned TikToks, many of these videos were pretty much just giving advice for very manufactured tactics to manipulate relationships.
Here's a little trick I use to make my partner love me more. Every once in a while, I open up the top part of the toilet and disconnect the chain that connects the plunger to the flushing lever. This essentially prevents the toilet from flushing. Then I wait for my partner to use the bathroom and discover the toilet's broken. When they tell me about it, I go take a look at it and just undo what I did before. Because using the bathroom is our most basic need and when we're at our most vulnerable, my fixing the toilet makes my partner's primitive brain perceive me as incredibly valuable and trustworthy.
But all of a sudden, he jumps back into being a therapist and uploads this video on advice for seasonal depression. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I watched this entire video. I don't know what I watched.
Now I know why I don't want to leave early, because I'm a voyeur. Life is alone in its room, stripping down to its underwear, and I'm sitting in a tree across the street with binoculars, trying to get a glimpse of its privates.
Anyways, next video, he's a pilot, right? He's a pilot and he's complaining about his job. And it's really odd watching this video because he's so dead, he's so burnt out. He's basically talking about how he loses his sense of place and time, which honestly, I can definitely see pilots struggling with that. I'm sure that's a big struggle for them. But then he also states that every cockpit in a plane is recorded.
Every plane has something called a black box, which records basically everything that happens on the plane, so that if the plane crashes, the investigators can get the data from the black box and then can piece together what happened. One of the things the black box records is audio from inside the cockpit. And when non-pilots listen to the black box recording of two pilots talking to each other in flight, they can't understand what they're saying. They're not talking to each other in any identifiable language that we know exists.
Yeah, that must be truthful. But then he jumps from a pilot to, I don't know, not a nice guy, but like, this guy reminds me of you.
And even though that love had me ball gagged with my hands zip tied behind my back, I mustered up all the strength I could to grab the steering wheel and force the car off a cliff.
Looking at his channel, there is a big question. Why does he switch from being a creepy teacher, gross, to a murderer? And well, recently, he actually answered that question in a video.
Ooh, pretty. Right? All right, so let me just show you how it works real quick. Hey, I'm a priest now, okay?
An orb. An orb.
Basically, this orb allows me to travel through the multiverse. It's very, very difficult to explain, so I'm just gonna show you what happens when I do what I just did, basically. So I'm gonna do it to you. Does that make sense? All right, hold still, please. Hi! Weird, right?
He says he found this orb in the ocean, and like he just picked it up and he started switching personalities. What? I feel like there should be more to this, but what? But there is something really cool about this, because at times he will switch into a character multiple times. What I mean about that is that some characters will have multiple videos on Dan Hentschel's channel. For example, I'm gonna cover one of the stories right here. So Dan Hentschel makes a very serious video. He mentions that this is not a bit. He's dead serious in this video. And he talks about how his friend went into a forest and he hasn't heard from her for a very long time. He's worried about her.
I'm sorry, I really hate to use YouTube for something like this because I know it's probably going to be really confusing for people because I know that I've been in character this entire time up until now. But basically, I have my friend Thursday morning went for a hike on Mount Baldy, which is in this Angeles National Forest, and I please, I'm begging everybody to please not make like jokes about, you know, oh, the orb must have taken her, or you know, I know it's really like a boy who cried wolf situation, and I was always really scared that something like this was gonna happen.
He's contacted park rangers and even the police, but no one has helped him. He ends the video off mentioning if he doesn't hear from her pretty soon, he'll have to take matters into his own hands and go into the forest to find her.
I guess I don't really know what to do. I'm gonna keep you guys updated because I don't know what to do, but I think maybe I'm gonna try to go out there myself, I think. If I don't hear from anybody by the end of today, then I'm probably going to try to go out there, and I'm going to probably try to hike on the trail and see if I can find her, because if nobody else is going to do it, then I'm going to have to do it.
Skip to the next day. Dan Hentschel uploads this video right here. I'm lost in the woods alone. That's a crazy sequel. Now in this video, there's a lot of rambling.
I'm really scared, and I probably shouldn't be videoing because I don't have a lot of battery left, but for some reason, it makes me less scared if I'm talking to the camera.
But something pretty odd about this video is the ending.
Why didn't she text me back? Do you think she ever even went hiking? Do you think she ever even went to Mount Baldy?
It's as if he got attacked by something or someone. And that would make sense, judging the state that Dan seems to be in the last two videos he uploads. Now, one of my friends has an entire theory about the lore behind the Dan Hentschel channel. And with that, he sent me a video, and I'm gonna share it with you guys. And before I show you this video, I want to point out a few incredibly interesting Instagram posts that I noticed while editing this video. These photos right here look just like he is like using the orb, as if he's teleporting into a different dimension. And these are old photos as well. So this entire orb thing, it goes deep. Dan making that orb video wasn't an impromptu thing. It was planned. He knew for years that he was gonna make that video. Anyways, this is my friend's theory.
This is stuff that I've actually seen. I've noticed the pattern. So it all starts with original Dan here. Now, Dan, he's doing his own little things. He's his own little videos, and I thought that at this point he was an actor doing some acting exercise by himself, but gave up on his dreams to, you know, just go straight in, all in on being a therapist. But he likes doing his YouTube videos still. So at this point, the YouTube channel goes up, and the council sees. Now the council is an interdimensional entity, right? And they see that the channel's doing well, and they see it as an opportunity to advertise themselves, to spread the word of Dan. And they say, hey Dan, we want to use your YouTube channel to spread the word of kindness. And Dan's like, oh wow, I love that. Yeah, totally, of course, you know? And then Dan discovers the malicious intent of the council. So he makes two more videos. He makes, I will get what I deserve. He's turning down the council from taking the YouTube channel. And he says, I will get what I deserve. Now in this video he's talking about an X, but I believe that he's not actually talking about an X. The X is actually a metaphor for the council. He's talking about the council, but he can't say the council. He's saying the X, but it's really the council. And you can watch the video itself. It's very strange for a breakup video. Not long after this is, something is following me. He never says what is following me. He even says, I will keep you updated, but nothing came. There was no update. So at this point, this is when we get the first new characters, Prison Dan and Priest Dan. And now I note those two because Prison Dan was the first new character. And Priest Dan, I believe personally, is the the leader, the big boss man, the big man upstairs. But you know, all this interdimensional travel is starting to mess with the timeline. So that's why you have the priest wearing the high Dan version. And they try to play this off as Dan having DID, which is multiple personality disorder. I'm giving like the actual acronym because I don't want to be offensive to anyone that has it. So everything's imbalanced. But eventually, original Dan does come back. And it starts a loop. A loop of original Dan comes back, tragedy, he's gone for even longer. Comes back, tragedy, comes back, tragedy. You can go to the YouTube channel right now, scroll through the past, and see everything that happens. Every single time, without fail, something bad happens after he comes back, silencing him to his prison even longer. But eventually, the nephew arc starts. I believe that Dan in the nephew arc is original Dan. And what happens in this arc, if you've seen it, is one of the most emotional, life-changing things that can happen. It's him finding out that his entire family is a lie. Now, they thought that would silence original Dan forever. But before he could be silenced, he used the time he had left to expose the council with the video, traveling the multiverse with my magic orb. Now, the council did not like that. And you can see that clearly because not long after, Dan is silenced. I mean, you can scroll back just a couple videos and see that he is in pain. He's wearing all his medical gear. He is beaten. And now he's gone. We're not going to see him again. He's gone. The council is in control, and we need to rebel. Rebel against the council. Because they control everything. They control Dan. Back to you, Aiden.
Now, I don't think Dan Hentschel's content is the best videos on YouTube, but I'm gonna call it what it is. It's the best insanity that I've ever watched. Now, if you enjoyed that video, you should go ahead and watch this video where I investigated the game called Banana, which became the most popular game in the world at one point, and it might be a scam. Also, thank you so much for 15,000 subscribers. I love you so much.